Welcome, everybody. This is Pauline Crawford-Omps, and I am CEO of Corporate Heart International, but I'm very well known as the ambassador of Magical Conversations. And I'm delighted today to have Lynda Sunshine West, who is a mastermind accountability coach and the founder and the inspiration behind Living Life. So hi, Lynda, how are you today?
Hello, Pauline. I'm so excited to be here. As you can see, I'm outside, and I preface it with that because sometimes the wind might kick up a little bit. So just let you guys know in advance.
That's great. Now, I've known Lynda for nearly a year, over a year. Is that right?
Yeah. Yep, just a little over a year.
Yes. And what I want to talk about today is actually about men. Now, Lynda is a mastermind accountability coach for women, and she primarily helps women who really want to get their businesses going, their lives together, to really help them understand what they need to make the success they are. And you have done that in your own life. And I know that prior to this, you had also a very busy business life, having many roles, which we'll go into.
Yeah.
But just to focus our viewers onto this, is I've been interviewing men for the last year about how the world is focused on their needs, or is it not? How do men feel about men today? Because there is a lot of work for women empowerment. We know that. So I've just now started a second part of the series, which is asking women about men. So we often have women talking about women and empowerment, etc. But what is going on from our perspective, your perspective, Lynda, about men today? What's your initial reaction to that?
My initial reaction is I'm not sure exactly the term I want to use, so I'm going to use one that is not the one I want to use. But feel sorry, or I feel bad for them in a way, because, you know, they say the saying chivalry is dead, and it's not that it's fully dead, I don't believe. And I believe what's happened is that women have scared off men. I don't think that chivalry is really dead. I think that it's inside of them, but they don't know how to do it because of all the different things that are going on. You know, there are people who are sexually abusing. Yes, there are people who are verbally abusing. But we women need to stand up to those people individually and don't blanket it like all men, all men. And so with that, you know, I think men are amazing. I have some incredible men in my life who are chivalrous, and they are out there. It's just that I think that they're scared of being sued or being ridiculed.
Absolutely. And one of the overriding factors from all of the interviews I did, well over 50 of them across the world, and different generations, which was interesting, they all said, we think men are confused, which adds to your point that, you know, what is going on? And so I love the word chivalry. I found that's fantastic you broke that up. Is there a modern day chivalry? Obviously, you and I are different generations.
Right.
Different backgrounds. You're American, I'm British, I'm a baby boomer, you're kind of
I'm a baby boomer. I'm a baby boomer.
Just, well, I'm at the other end.
Yes.
But, you know, what is modern day chivalry? How is it we could help women to help men?
And that's the key right there, is how can we help women to help men? It's not, to me, it's not about the men, because there are some men out there that really are just, you know, kind, compassionate, and they are being lumped in with those men who maybe are kind and compassionate but don't know how to show it in a way. Maybe they're like letting their machismo take over, you know, whatever it is. But really, how can we women teach them how to be chivalrous and how to be okay with it? So for example, when I worked in corporate, I was in corporate for 36 years. I had 49 jobs. So I had a lot of different people, different types of people I worked with. Well, back in the 90s, I worked at this job, and there was this guy who was going to a masseuse school. And so he would come into work and he'd go, hey ladies, I'm in my masseuse class. Can I massage you guys? Like during work, like I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, of course. Come on. Give me a massage. I wanted a massage, you know? And it was a guy, but I never saw it as like, there was no sexual advance. There could have been, I don't know, but I didn't see it, you know? But I was just like, yes, I want to help somebody, first of all, but plus I'm helping myself. Today's world, here's not my point, is in today's world, the way that people are looking on the hunt for sexual predators. People are on the hunt for this, I believe. And in the workplace, that exact same situation, my coworker 30 feet away could have seen that situation. That man giving me a massage and could have put a sexual harassment lawsuit against the company because I said, yeah, I want a massage.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's the whole thing, is that people are not having conversations about these things. They sit at their desk and they go, oh, you know, I don't think that's what should happen. But it can lead to something unfortunate if it's not the right person. And that's our challenge. Is the men that I interviewed all said that they felt they were being held under a spotlight, that they were seen as a threat until proven otherwise. And that has come from, you know, that the other side of the Me Too movement, the pressure, but also the fact that men and women are different, and different generations are different, and cultures are different, and we're all different. So being able to share these things. Because I wondered, did the guy who was offering the massage, was he seen by the other men as doing the right thing or not?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I'm not sure. And that was back in the 90s. Things were different, right? Yeah. Things have changed a lot. And what's interesting about this topic to me is that, you know, we're all living in our own bubbles. We all have our own filters. We all have our own experiences, our own life and everything. And of course, we pull all of that stuff into our present moment, and we're going to keep pulling it into our future. So the question is, how can we change, like you said, you're talking about these magical conversations, how can we change the conversation? So instead of accusing or instead of making a judgment against somebody, what if we just go talk to them and say,
absolutely. The other thing I've been looking at, Lynda, is if we're going to create the future without reference to the past, what would be a key thing that we could put into the future so that we wouldn't have these issues?
Communication.
So communication, or in the workplace especially, how would we manage that? Are there any?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think it's just about opening dialogue and allowing, like in the workplace. So I'm imagining I'm at my old job, right? And I'm sitting there and I have this company where I'm working with 300 other employees. And how can we coexist in a way so that communication is easier? So maybe it's just a matter of bringing them together on a regular basis in team environments so that they can get to know each other personally as well as through business. Because when we tap into, I'll give a great example. There was this one woman who, the first day she came into work, you know, she's really, really bubbly and fun. And she came into work and she walked by my desk and she said to me, "Hi, beautiful," like that. And immediately, because of my past, I grew up in abuse. I married an abusive man. My first husband was abusive. My current husband is amazing, by the way. But because of my past, when she said, "Hi, beautiful," I was like, why is she saying that? Why is she calling me beautiful?
Yes.
I took such offense to her calling me beautiful, but it wasn't because of her. It was because of me, because of my history, because of my past. And it wasn't until about a year working with her that I realized that this is just how she is to everybody, and that I needed to accept the fact that she thinks people are beautiful, you know?
That's right. And it all comes down to words. I mean, the words we use are always interpreted differently. And also it depends, you know, whether we're the boss or the junior or whatever the expectation is. And I think conversation is different to communication. I once had this amazing incident with a man who said to me, he actually said to me when I was chatting, he said, "We're not having a conversation, Pauline, I'm talking at you." And it was like, oh, okay. But actually it was really good that he was clear. He didn't want a conversation. He just wanted to communicate a fact, and he wanted me to respond in a certain way. So that was okay. But I think men today are, one of my interviewees said he wanted a really modern chivalry. And I just think if we go back to that word chivalry, one of the other things they all said, we don't know whether women want me to open the door for them or not.
Mm,
What would you respond to that? How can women respond to the men wanting to open the door without
yeah,
the
and I find that to be a huge not problem, but kind of problem out there, is that even like just women with women.
yeah,
Women will offer help to women, and women are accustomed nowadays to saying, "No, I got this. No, I got this. I can do it on my own." And what I say to that is, you're depriving the other person of being able to serve. Because if you're like me, for example, I'm a person of service. I love to help people. So if I come to you and offer help, and you say, "Oh no, I got it. I can do this on my," I know you got it. I know you can do it on your own. But what you're doing is you're depriving me of the joy of being able to help you and to serve you. So if we look at both sides of it, like looking at men offering to help, they're not offering to help because they think we're weak, because they think we can't do it, because they want to offer help. They just want to help. They see you're struggling with something, and they're coming forward and saying, "Hey, I can help you. Would you like some help?" So I
yeah,
think we need to we need to just back off and say,
yes,
"Yes, thank you so much. I accept your offer of help."
I agree. And I think there's something out there around women trying to be like men, but actually men want them to be like women. But we haven't actually had a
Yeah.
conversation about what that actually means, and it means something different to everybody. Um,
Yeah.
but I think you're right, and I think that the rise of the empowered woman, which is great, but it has this counter impact of, yeah, I can do everything. And actually, we'd be
Yeah.
wise to ask for help slightly more often, because it isn't a sign of weakness, it's actually a sign of strength. And we do it with
Exactly.
everybody. Uh,
Yeah. It really is, and it's interesting for me because there are some key points in history that I look at and I say, "Oh man, that was so detrimental to women." But at the time, they were fighting, right? They were fighting for us. They were fighting for our rights. But what ended up happening is the pendulum tilted like completely the opposite way. And then now we women, some of us women, are fighting to be able to be women again.
well, that's right. And I think that pendulum is what this is all about, because when we go into the corporate world, and that's what I'm fascinated with, we know that the top layer and even the hidden top layer is all men. And I get the sense that some of those men don't know what they don't know. They don't even know that they don't know what they don't know about women, because women have never been there. And,
Mm-hmm.
and if they're only going to be there because they're invited in, then they're never going to be there, because the men are always going to say, I think I'll just keep my own guys in. So
Yeah.
I think the message about us being women is really important, without it being always about empowerment. What do you think about the word empowerment? Because I feel sometimes it's seen as only a woman word.
Yeah, I think it's just one of the buzzwords of the day, really,
Yeah,
because I agree with you. I work with women because I found that I work better with women. It's not because I don't like men. It's not because I think men are disempowered, and it's not because I'm like, we women rock. No, no, I think all people rock. I think men and women can coexist together, and it's just a matter of allowing that to happen and having those magical conversations like you're talking about. And the word empowerment, I'm my hope and my wish is that when I speak, I empower both men and women to
yes.
take action. My group is called Women Action Takers, but it's not just about women taking action. It's just I want to bring women together so that they're taking, they're taking the right action. But I hope that my message inspires and motivates and empowers both men and women to be themselves, to be themselves.
That's the key. And I think that is absolutely the key, is that so many people in the world sadly don't know themselves yet, that
Yeah.
we're born with this natural spirit, and sadly it can be removed by all sorts of meaningful and good and negative. So what practical advice would you give to women about managing men today?
Interesting word, managing, right? Because That's an interesting choice of words there, Pauline. I just think it's about, I think what's important, again, is for us to be ourselves and not to put up those barriers or those preconceived notions, preconceived ideas that because that's a man and like that man's saying hi to me, it means he wants to get in my pants. Like that's not always the case. There might be some of those issues, yes, but that's not always the case. So really, I don't think it's as much about managing the man as about managing herself.
Yes.
I think it's more about managing herself. There was something you said that it wasn't until I was 51 years old that I actually knew who I was.
Yeah.
And the reason I had to look back and say, like, why have I always been scared to be myself around people? Is because I didn't know who I was. And the reason I didn't know who I was, because I grew up in a lot of abuse. That abuse made me turn into a people pleaser. And I wanted to make sure that everybody was happy, because if everybody was happy, then nobody was getting hurt. That was my filter, and that's how I grew up. So at age 51, I worked with a life coach who helped me to discover who I am. And it was at that point that I could start actually being myself whenever I'm wherever I am. So sometimes I will talk to men in a little bit of a flirtatious way, and sometimes I won't. Depends on how I'm feeling at the moment. But it's all me being me. Yes. And I really think it's just about, it's not about managing men as much as managing yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
And speaking your truth. Yeah. Speak your truth. Speak your truth,
It certainly is. And then I think the second step, though, is to be aware of other people's differences.
Yeah.
And I think that's the step that women need to do now and men need to do. And I mean, there are a lot of men's groups now across the world. There's all sorts of projects, and really men are stepping into themselves as well. Another thing that the men said to me in these interviews was just let me be myself.
Yeah.
So it's like both parties are going, let me be myself, and we can get rid of this old guard, which was, it's still there about equality. And our challenge is to have the conversations when we are trying to get somewhere where there appears to not be equality, like in the boardroom, but allow ourselves to be ourselves. So there's still a long way to go.
And I find, this is my own thought on this, is through observation in the last 5 years or so of observing people closely and working with women, is what I noticed oftentimes is the women aren't stepping up. So when we look at those numbers that are skewed as far as like in the boardroom, part of that is because women aren't stepping up. And so if we're not stepping up, how can we expect to level the playing field if we're not stepping up? So in my opinion, it's not as much about, the men keeping the women down as much. Like it does happen, of course, but not as much as the women aren't stepping up. And so maybe getting into the boardroom is creating your own boardroom, like those two women did at what was that company you mentioned to me the other day?
Yeah, KPMG. Yeah.
Yeah. So what they do? They created their own boardroom.
Yeah. And there certainly is that across the world. There are more and more women running their own businesses and doing their own thing. We still got to challenge the majority of the economic world, but that's another whole big picture.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
But I think the work that you do is tremendous, and I think that
Thank you.
Women taking action is a key part, and the second is actually understanding that we've got a much wider playing field now. So the days when we were knocking on the door to get the vote, all that's been done. A lot of work has been done behind us, and that if we look forward, creating our future is still a conversation we need to have with men, and we will see that differently, but that's the conversation that we need to go to. So is there any advice that you could give to men to understand women?
That's a tough one to me, because I really think a lot of it right now is on the women. But as far as men, I think, again, opening that dialogue and just talking to them, having that magical conversation. And it's like, how can you have a conversation and letting somebody know that you're not a threat to them, that you're not against them? It's just about learning how to communicate with each other, and each individual situation is going to be different because each woman is different, each man is different. But really just opening up that conversation and talking to them as human beings, we're all human beings and we relate on a human level. And so instead of looking at that as a woman or a man, look at them as a human being. Because, you know, every single one of us was born and took that very first breath. We were so totally innocent. We didn't know what we were doing. And we whatever situation we grew up in helped to form us to who we became.
Yes.
And now as adults, though, we have choices. I have a choice to be a victim or a victor. Which do I choose? So the victim will sit back and say, oh, I can't do that because. The victor will say, oh my gosh, I'm going to try that, and I'm going to win or lose, but I'm going to do it. And I'm going to take that action and to do it. So I really think it's just about having that, like, you know, having that magical conversation.
Yeah, and that's a really good advice. And one thing I offer to people is to ask and talk about people's value. And that for a man, because one of the things I observe about men is that they need to know what's going on in much more defined detail than women sometimes. So we can chatter, but they even need to know what's it about, how long is it going to be, you know, what am I supposed to be doing? And if I'm shy and I'm going to lock out of it, I'm not going to go there. So that to helping the men to open that dialogue, we also need to give them the space and to respect that they are asking us for the right reasons.
And I love that, Pauline, because, you know, having grown up in that volatile situation I did and becoming a people pleaser, what I discovered is once I started to expand my mind and look at personalities and stuff, like one of my mentors is very short, like boom, boom. It's like 2 words and he's done. He doesn't want to have a long, flowery conversation. He'll actually look at me in the eyes and say, I'm not with you anymore. Because I lost him, right? So I'm like, oh, good, come back. So that reminds me to come back. But having that communication, so what I'm sharing this because the beginning of my life, somebody who treated me like that, I would have seen as a negative. I would have cried. I would have been hurt. I would have been scared to talk to him again. But I realized that that's just his way of communicating.
That's his
and the value that he's giving me in those conversations, I must respect the way he communicates so that I can get the most value out of him. So once I was able to learn that he's not saying these things to hurt my feelings, it's nothing about that. It's just that he's a straight to the point person. So what do I need to do? I need to learn how to communicate with him, or how to have a magical conversation with him, is being short and to the point. Come, know what you're going to talk about about it, get done with it. He'll give you your answer and you move on with your life.
Yes.
But it's learning that conversation.
That's right. And it's learning to observe those different types. So the different types of men, different types of women. And that whenever somebody is short or long, if you don't like the short or long, it's your adjustment.
Right.
You know, you say, okay, he's a bullet point man. I go 1, 2, 3, done, smile. Somebody else is a chatterer. I allow them to speak. But some people chat too long. So we also have to know.
Yes, exactly. You got to know when to hold them and you got to know when to fold them.
Hold them and fold them. That's right.
So you live in Vegas.
The key is conversation. And this conversation has been fantastic. And I think your advice to men and to women is hopefully part of this new world that we are starting now from today. Every day is a new day. And my vision and dream is that we can create world harmony, one conversation at a time. So thank you very much, Lynda. This has been magical.
Thank you. Love it. Thank you.